Hey friends, happy Sunday. Today is Sunday, August 2nd. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying cool because it is hot out there. I also hope that you guys are ready for school because I know a lot of you probably either have started or are starting school soon. So I hope that's going well for you guys. When you come back, if you've either moved up into kindergarten or second grade or fourth grade, you would start in a new classroom, which would be really fun. And I know your teachers would be really excited to meet you. All right, today we're gonna pick up where we left off in our big picture story of the Bible. So where we left off is, if you remember, that the Israelites were living in sin, so God exiled them. That means he sent them away from their land, and the southern kingdom of Judah was captured by Babylon. So that's where we're gonna pick up our story, is what's happening with them. So you can follow along in the book of Daniel. Daniel is in the Old Testament. It's after some of the bigger prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah. It's about 12 chapters, so it's a big but smaller prophet. And we're gonna be in chapter 1. So when Jehoiakim was king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, that's a fun one. That's a long, I'll have to spell that for you. The king of Babylon went with his army to Judah. Because God's people had sinned against him, God allowed King Nebuchadnezzar to take over the city of Jerusalem. King Nebuchadnezzar told one of his leaders to bring some of the people to Babylon. He wanted specifically boys who were healthy, handsome, and good listeners to serve in his palace. Every day, King Nebuchadnezzar gave the boys a special diet. They ate the same food and drank the same drinks that the king ate and drank, and this was a huge honor. However, 4 of the boys came from Judah, and they were different than the others. They worshiped the Lord, the one true God. Their names were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and Azariah. The man in charge of the boys gave them new Babylonian names. Daniel's new name was Belteshazzar. That's a hard one. Hananiah's new name was Shadrach. Mishael's new name was Meshach. And Azarel's name was Abednego. Those names probably sound familiar. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We will get to them later in a couple weeks. Even though Daniel and his friends weren't in Judah anymore, Daniel still wanted to obey God. God's law told Daniel what he could and could not eat. Daniel was not allowed to eat some of the food that the king gave the boys. So Daniel, this is a really bold move, by the way, Daniel asked the man in charge for permission to eat other foods. But the man in charge was afraid. He was afraid that these boys would be weaker than the other boys and that the king would be angry with him. Daniel said, let's try this for 10 days. Let us eat only vegetables and drink only water. Then see if we are healthier than the other young men. The guard agreed, and at the end of 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier than the young men who had eaten the food. After that, the guard allowed them to continue to only eat vegetables and water. God was happy that Daniel obeyed him. God blessed Daniel and his friends. And Daniel served the king for many years. We're going to hear more about Daniel in the future. So Daniel chose to obey God no matter what. It's kind of like when you think God's not looking. I think a lot of times when you're in a situation like they were in, they might have been tempted to think God's not looking, God has forgotten. And so, but they still continued to obey God's law. It's kind of like if you're in a room and your mom and dad say, don't touch that cake, and they leave the room, and you think, I could take a swipe of that cake and I could just cover it up and they won't know that I've eaten a little bit of this frosting, but God knows. And so it's obeying from the heart. It's obeying when you don't think anybody's looking. And that's kind of what Daniel did, although we know that God always sees us. And in an even greater way, Jesus obeyed God. He came to earth. He followed God's plan to save sinners. And Jesus never sinned. He died the death that we deserve, and he rose from the dead. And those who trust in him, us, we receive God's forgiveness and blessing. Because see, we struggle with sin. If I'm in a room with a cake all the time, I want to take a swipe of it. That's my struggle with sin, and we all struggle with sin. And thankfully, God gave us forgiveness. So, let's learn our memory verse. Our memory verse is Daniel 20 through 21, because I think it helps us to understand who God is, to know why can we trust him. That's actually our why should we obey him? And that's our big picture question and answer is, how can we obey God? How can we? And I think we're going to find that we're going to need his help. So our verse is Daniel 2:20 through 21. And I really suggest that you, so the sun's coming up on me. I really suggest that you rainbow write this. So as I'm saying it, grab out a piece of paper. You can rewind the video. The first word red, the second word orange, the third word yellow, and just keep going all the way through the rainbow. So here it is. Praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his. He changes times and seasons. He disposes kings and raises up others. Wisdom and power are his. And so we need his power and his wisdom so that we don't sin, so that we have faith, so that we trust him, so we have the power to obey him. So today our activity is a little different, and I want to remind you that Daniel was called specifically, I'm hiding from the sun, Daniel was called specifically to not eat certain foods and to eat vegetables. It's not a sin to not eat vegetables, but it is really good for you. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to try some. So this is your activity. And I want you to either take a picture of this later for us and post it in the comments below, or email it to me at lisa@fcob.org. I want you to try some new vegetables. And I know you guys have probably tried broccoli. I think everybody's tried broccoli. They're like little baby trees. Have you tried cauliflower? They're white baby trees, and they're less potent usually. They taste really good with cheese. Here's an easy one if you haven't tried it. This is celery. You can put some peanut butter on here, some raisins. It's called Ants on a Log, and eat it. Take a picture of you eating it, okay, and send it to me. Baby carrots. These are a really easy one. You can dip these in ranch dressing, or I just eat them plain. These are like mini peppers. These are super sweet. For some reason, the bag that I got, they gave me the teeniest tiny, you probably can't tell, but they're teeny tiny little peppers. These are really good. They taste good if you dip them in hummus, again, or just eat them plain. A lot of things look like baby things. This is a Brussels sprout. It looks like a baby cabbage. And my mom used to cook them. She used to steam them with butter and lemon, and it was, well, no. So I love vegetables. It was disgusting. Cut them in half, toss them in olive oil, salt and pepper, and some garlic, and roast them. So have mom and dad help you. Put them on a pan, put them with the little arch up flat, and put them in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. They get a little caramely brown, and take them out, let them cool down. Oh, they're so good. And you can do that with zucchini. You can cube those up, or yellow squash. I like to slice these up and steam them with some butter and salt and pepper. But this is my absolute favorite. Artichoke. Anybody had an artichoke? These are so good. This is actually a flower. I don't know if you knew that. That's kind of fun. But you take the leaves off, already pulled a leaf off, and how you eat it is you dip it in something, and then you put it in your mouth and you scoop. You use your teeth to scoop off this flesh in here, and it's so good. But the best part is the heart. So when you get down to the bottom, you've eaten all the leaves off, you dig out some like fluffy stuff that's in there, and you've got this big heart. And it's really good to dip in some butter or some mayonnaise. So I hope you try these things. I hope you take a picture and show me, because the truth is eating vegetables is really healthy for us. So I hope you give it a try. Happy Sunday.